Cuckoo, it's Kennedy.
Cuckoo, it's Kennedy. Today I am back with a brand new Tea Talk with Kennedy. I was recently asked what it was like for me to grow up black, and I have a lot to say about this, so I figured that I would make a video as opposed to write something about it. First off, I grew up in a predominantly white town with a white father. As a little child, I actually don't really remember ever being too conscious about my race or the fact that I looked different than everybody else that I grew up around. Throughout elementary school, kindergarten, the fact that I was darker than everybody else never seemed to, I guess, bother anybody. No one ever said anything about it, and I never thought anything of it until I'd say about 4th grade. So I wasn't really boy crazy in 4th grade, but this was the time when a lot of my friends, again, all of my friends were white at the time, would constantly get attention from boys, and people would constantly go up to them and tell them that they were pretty, and I never ever got that, and it made me a little bit sad and kind of jealous. So I sort of resorted to going around the playground and asking different guys that I had no interest in I don't know why I'm calling them guys, they're little boys. I went around the playground asking boys that I had no interest in whatsoever if they liked me or if they thought I was pretty. Of course, all of them said no, and some of them literally said flat out to my face, "You would be prettier if your skin didn't look like dirt." This was the first time that I felt negatively towards being black or being dark-skinned. And little did 4th grade me know that this was not the first time that I would be facing racism. Alright, so in the town that I grew up in, we had 3 small elementary schools, 1 middle school, and 1 high school. So in middle school, everybody from these 3 elementary schools kind of merged into 1 school. So there was a little tiny bit more diversity, but not much at all. And to a lot of the black people who were at my school, I wasn't black enough to hang out with them. And for a lot of the white people, I wasn't necessarily white enough to hang out with them. So I kind of fell somewhere in the middle, and it was really awkward. Middle school was a very confusing time for me. I think it's a confusing time for anybody. I wanted so desperately to fit in. I had braids for the most part growing up until I was about 13 years old, and my friends would always tell me that I would look a lot prettier if I didn't have braids. I would look a lot prettier if I had straight hair just like them. The beginning of middle school, 6th grade, was also when I started to be called racial slurs. I would get called the N-word, I would get called African baby, people would tell me that I was their slave, and as messed up as it sounds, I actually accepted all of this because I didn't know any better. I thought that this was just the way that society was. I thought this was the way things were supposed to be. Just because I grew up in an all-white town, I thought that I was inferior to everybody else. Fast forward to the middle of 8th grade when my family decided to move here to Los Angeles, and I started at a brand new school. As soon as I arrived, I noticed a huge difference. Now, I'm not saying racism does not exist in Los Angeles, but I noticed that 1, the school that I went to had so much more diversity, and I felt a lot more welcome. I quickly made friends who were people of color and made friends who were also white, and nobody ever made me feel awkward or left out just because of the way that I looked. But like I said earlier, I mean, that wasn't like the end of racism in my life. I moved out here specifically because I am an actor, and being a black actor comes with its own set of challenges and issues, but you know what, that's a whole different video. So in conclusion, I guess growing up black for me was very confusing. Growing up in an all-white town, I never felt like I belonged. And I think the first time that I felt that I'm not inferior to white people or anyone else in general was when I discovered Tumblr. And I know this sounds really ridiculous, but there is a large community of like black empowerment blogs on Tumblr. And so I started to find these, and I started to feel like, you know what? The color of my skin really doesn't matter. I'm beautiful the way that I am. I wouldn't change the way that I am for the world. So yeah, that's what growing up black for me was like. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed. Give this a like, leave a comment, and subscribe if you feel like it, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye!